this. So there we go. So we are live with another episode of BS Busters. We may be joined by Joel Ryder Moonstar after this, perhaps. Pray tell. If not, that's okay. So I guess we should get the elephant out the room and talk about the Nintendo online service. So how do you feel about it?
Well, I just bought the $20 fee since I've got plenty of money to get rid of, and I've yet to try out the NES online system yet because I'm currently busy doing other stuff, both in real life and on my Switch, such as preparing for the Splatfest, which is happening today, or at the moment this podcast is recording. But from what I've heard it's actually pretty responsive. The online is pretty responsive,
Um,
pretty helpful at times.
well, I mean, here's what I'll say. The online service, I'm not really seeing much of a difference between what you had before you started paying for stuff and now. Um, so I'm not really I'm not really seeing.
Not really seeing any major differences
Yeah, the
between.
online isn't really any better or any worse than it was before. Thus far. As far as the game selection goes on the Nintendo Switch Online, I mean, to me, it's meh. But
Well, it'll continue growing in
yeah, it
months.
it'll continue to grow over the. Basically, here's what I'm gonna say. If you are on the fence, wait until Christmas, then get it when Smash Brothers comes out. Because right now it's not really worth the investment. It's not terrible, but I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not like, oh my god, this is game changing either. So I would advise to hold off and wait. If I mean, like I said, only get this if you're really into Nintendo first party games and you absolutely like 100% need you're one of those people who like are really into Nintendo first party games that have multiplayer, because most of the games that have multiplayer on the system that aren't Nintendo first party games, you can basically get on another system and not pay for, well, you can get on PC and not have to pay for online. So, I mean, like I said, you probably don't need it unless you absolutely like 100% like need online, for a Nintendo first party game. So unless you really like Mario Kart Deluxe, or you really like what's that other online game,
But
Arms,
arms and
or you
Splatoon,
really, yeah, if you're not into online multiplayer games, you probably don't need this. Um,
just stick with the single player games like Odyssey, Breath of the Wild,
yeah, yeah. Um,
Xenoblade.
I'm still kind of like I'm doing the free thing right now, but I'm probably not gonna renew it just because like most of the games that they're like most of the third party games that they're like, well, you need the online, like I have on PC, which I don't have to pay a goddamn dime aside from what I'm already paying for my internet service provider. And I haven't paid for online for any of my systems since then. Like, you know, and I really don't feel like doing it now, so I'm on the fence about it. I might not get it for Smash Brothers, just to be honest with you. Um, so yeah, for me, it's a resounding meh. Out of a 5 tier rating, like with the top tier being outstanding or excellent, below that being good, below that being okay, below that being meh, below that being just stay away from it, I'm giving it a meh. It might get better. I mean, hopefully they'll add some games that are more enticing in the future that make it worth the price tag. But
I'm pretty sure there's going to be an SNES online service
I'm
in the
sure
future.
they'll get there eventually. But I'm just as it is right now, it's not worth the investment. So I would say hold off until maybe December, maybe November. Don't jump in immediately. Maybe they'll make it better down the line. Knock on wood. But those are just my feelings. I know some people might get upset. They're like, "Oh, how dare you, sir?" But that's just how I feel. Those are my feelings.
I mean, there's really nothing to start an internet drama over.
No, I mean, like I said, look, listen, okay? Ultimately, all of this shit's subjective. Like, I've been seeing a lot of people, I love playing these old NES games with online multiplayer. And for them, it's worth the investment. For me, I'm just not, that doesn't impress me. Like, I don't like renting games. I don't like the idea of games being tied to a service. You know what I mean?
Right, but rental video games have been a thing since like the days of Blockbuster.
No, I understand that. I'm saying that I personally don't like that. Like, if I'm gonna play a game, if I'm gonna like, okay, I prefer just buying the shit. Because here are the games that are on the Nintendo Online kiosk. Okay, you've got Yoshi, which is the puzzle game. You got Legend of Zelda. I have that on the Virtual Console. You have Tennis. I have that on the Virtual Console. You have Tecmo Bowl. I have that on the Virtual Console. You have Super Mario Brothers 3. I mean, like, when I say Virtual Console, I mean, not only do I have it on Virtual Console, I have the physical versions in multiple things, okay? Super Mario Brothers, have that. Gradius, have that. Ice Climber, have that. Ice Hockey, have that. Mario Brothers, the original. I have that in 2 formats. Pro Wrestling, I don't have that, but I played it. I didn't like it. River City Ransom, I have the original plus like 2 other ports. Soccer, don't give a shit about. Ghosts and Goblins, I have that. It's Sight Bike. It's Sight Bike, have that. Dr. Mario, have that. Double Dragon, have that. Donkey Kong, the original. I have the arcade machine. Baseball, don't have that. Don't give a shit about it. Balloon Fight, have that. So basically, most of these games I have the physical version. The only thing they're adding is online multiplayer, or you can switch off with your friend, in 2-player mode, all that shit. But I don't give a shit about that. So for me, this is not worth it. Especially when I have to pay, $20 a year, or $3.99 a month, or $7.99 for 3 months. It's the enticement isn't enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
But for other people, it might be there. It might be the thing for them.
Yeah. So when I was trying to refer to no need to start an internet drama about, I was referring to some particular YouTubers who are treating this as the worst thing ever.
Well, no, it's not the worst thing ever. It's just, I mean, okay, right now, to me, the online service seems a little mediocre. But here's the thing. It will hopefully get better over time. Because, a lot of the stuff that Nintendo first started with was kind of mediocre. Like, people forget that the Wii Virtual Console, when it first came out, was shit. Well, it wasn't shit. It had, like...
a very limited library of...
It had a very limited library, and over time, it got better. So hopefully, over time, this will also get better. I'm just saying, like, it might not seem, depending on what type of gamer you are, that it's worth it, even when it does get quote-unquote better. So, but no, it's not worth losing your mind over and going crazy and starting fights and blowing people up, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not worth that. It's the people who were doing that. Oh my God, this is terrible. They did this. I mean, those people were taking that shit way too far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They took it a step too far. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And they're also burning bridges to other people.
I don't know if they're burning bridges, but they are taking it. Okay, let me put it this way: this is no reason to start fights over.
Agree.
But that's just me. I could be wrong. I'm just some guy. It's not like I know everything. What else? I guess we can move on to the next topic, which is Telltale. What?
And Capcom Vancouver.
Yeah.
Both of them have one thing in common. They're shutting down.
Both of them are shutting down, but both of them were run by bad management. Bad management. Here's what I'll say. I feel sorry for Capcom Vancouver. The reason I think they're shutting down has nothing to do with
Capcom CEO.
No, I was gonna say I think the reason it's shutting down is because the Dead Rising series has never been that big of a series, and I think that the tax write-offs they were getting by having a studio in Vancouver, because that's like one of the tech hubs where like new studios are always being opened up, and is because they get a tax write-off per person there that they hire. I think that was kind of I think that tax write-off was finally ended for that studio, so they were going to lose money if they stayed there, so they said fuck it, cut our losses and go.
So unless the Dead Rising series is moved to another Capcom studio, then rest in peace that series.
I think they might bring it back. I think it's gonna look very different. Like, to tell you the truth, I didn't like Capcom Vancouver's style of Dead Rising games. Like, the only good one they did was Dead Rising 2. Because Dead Rising 3 was not that good. Dead Rising 4 was even worse. And Capcom made some bad decisions. Like, Dead Rising 3 was an Xbox One exclusive. Why? Because Dead Rising did its best on, ironically, the PS.
The Wii. You mean the Wii?
Well, I was going to say the PS3 and the Wii. Like, those are the two consoles it did its best on. Like, the Sony audience and the Nintendo audience. And really, the most profitable version of that game was on the Wii because it was a quick and dirty port. They just basically down-res a lot of shit. But, I mean, it's just, it's like people don't understand how business works. But, that was more like that was just mismanagement from up top.
All right, and we can move on to Telltale's studios on why they're shutting down.
Yeah, Telltale Studio is shutting down. Some people have tried to make the excuse. Notably, someone on Discus. I'm not going to say the person's name because I don't remember their name, but they said it was.
I do. Continue.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anyone's name because it's just better that way. But basically, like, the argument is, well, there was bad financial, and plus they had to raise the wages of the people they hired, which is bullshit. And I'm not going to go into all the reasons why, but suffice it to say, if your business model is so slim that if you pay people what they should be getting paid any goddamn way, is going to make your margins go short, your business model sucks. But that's just me. But in regards to Telltale, yeah, Telltale basically was another badly managed. Okay, Telltale in 2010, they ran off their most talented developers to go to other places, which is sad because Telltale almost single-handedly brought back adventure games. Like, the reason you're seeing like another King's Quest type game and stuff like that now, like revamps of Myst and adventure games, is because Telltale started to bring that shit back. So it's sad to see them go.
Yeah, and they were the ones who made the Back to the Future and Jurassic Park game.
Yeah, they did.
During the late to early 2010s.
Yeah, but you want to know what really hurt Telltale? What hurt them the most?
Trying to be like trying to be like those AAA companies.
Oh no. Think about it. All the games that they made, what are they?
Walking Dead, The Wolf Among Us.
What do they all have in common?
Point and click, quick time events.
No, that's not it.
Drama.
Mm-mm.
Oh, the graphics.
Nope. I'll give you a hint. If EA wants to make a Star Wars game, they don't own Star Wars. They have to.
Oh yeah, license.
Right. All the games that Telltale made were licensed games. Those licenses meant that, and I would wager that those licenses were not very well written. Those license contracts were not very well written. I would wager they were probably slanted against Telltale. So even if a game sold millions and was widely critically acclaimed, they probably did not get the money they deserved for that game.
And wasn't Wolf Among Us their only original IP?
No, that's based on a comic book.
Oh.
No, that's based on a comic book. It's called Fables Legend. It's called Fables Legends Among Us. It's actually a pretty good graphic novel series where basically like the fairy tales you're told from those are real people, and something happened in their magical world that forced them to come to the real world. And like the main character, the sheriff of their little fairy tale world is the wolf, the big bad wolf from all those stories, who actually has a really interesting story. If you ever get a chance to go to a library or go to a bookstore and read it or look it up, it's actually really good. It's actually really, really good. But yeah, I mean, that's basically like they were giving like basically it's like they had to if something sold like if something produced like 40 million in revenue, they had to give maybe like 2/3 of that to the license holder. So they were fucked from the start because they never did anything original. So that's a thing people forget. When you license stuff, you're never going to get as much money as the person who doesn't hold the license.
And because of it, they suffer.
Well, I mean, you basically that's a bad business model. So you have a bad business model combined with bad management, combined with like games that aren't selling. Like there's been diminishing returns with their games, right? Like their games aren't selling like they used to back in the day, but they still got to pay that license. So even if it did sell crack 2-3 million and made like 10-15 million in money, because most of their games were not sold at AAA prices. They were sold at like AA, single A, B tier prices. So like $20-$30, and you got you got all their games, all the games in the series. You know what I mean? So I mean, if they made 15 million, they still had to give 10 of that or half if they had a better deal to the license holder. So they were fucked either way, basically. And yet people like to make this distinction. Oh, it's because they had to pay their workers. That's bullshit.
So it's still sad to see them go.
Oh yeah. I mean, they have a legacy of making some really well-made games, but
and because of they canceled the planned final season for the Walking Dead game, as well as season 2 of The Wolf Among Us,
which is sad. But I mean, like we're seeing a lot of studios fall apart.
I mean, in the recent years, at least. I wonder who's next. Any guesses?
I don't want to see anyone go down next, to tell you the truth. Like, I don't like seeing studios get shut down. I really don't, except for the studios that deserve it, like EA. But but even then, I don't want to see EA get shut down.
But speaking of EA, we could talk about that other news article.
What? What happened? What?
Belgium intending to.
Oh, you mean the 19 countries? Like Belgium started it, and then 19 other countries are dogpiling on the rabbit. Dogpiling on EA.
Yep.
Well, I mean, here's what I'm going to say. Okay. When people keep on asking, well, why doesn't EA just not do it? Because 67% of EA's revenue generated comes from microtransactions and loot boxes. If they take microtransactions and loot boxes, if they bend for Belgium and these other countries, that means other countries will say, well, we don't want that shit in here either. And that messes up their revenue stream, which means they're fucked, right? So they're willing to bet that they can either get the rules softened or beaten in court. Personally, I don't think it's going to happen because, I mean, even by the legal definition in most of these other countries, they're basically doing gambling and they're not giving the state a cut of that money. So, like, don't think this shit's about protecting children. I mean, that's a part of it, but not all of it. It's about they're basically enabling gambling and they're not giving the state a cut of it, the state or the country a cut of it. So, yeah, EA shady as fuck.
No duh.
I mean, I think we can all agree EA is shady as fuck.
But of course, but all this talk of EA is pretty much said and done. We can move on to the next topic, which is Sony. Two things related to Sony, at least. To say at least.
I'll let you take the lead on this one.
One, Sony is piggybacking off of Nintendo's success of the NES and SNES Mini by announcing a PS1 Mini.
Yeah, I read about that. It was, and here's the thing: they couldn't even tell you all the games in it. They were like, "Well, it's got Ridge Racer 4 and Jumpin' Jack Flash
and Wild Arms."
And Wild Arms. Now, Wild Arms is cool, but Jumpin' Jack Flash and Ridge Racer 4, I don't think anyone bought a PlayStation 1 for those games.
And Final Fantasy VII is also one of those 5 titles.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII, but...
And the 5th one, let me check. Oh, Tekken 3.
Yeah.
Which is supposedly the one Tekken game that had the least amount of re-releases because of licensing issues with a certain character in the roster.
Yeah, boy, Sony, releasing the PS1 Mini, once again showing their unoriginality and their lameness. But it wouldn't be Sony if they were unoriginal and lame.
Also, their DualShocks lack any analogs, which means Ape Escape is definitely out of the possible titles for this.
So if this system is hacked, which it probably will be hacked, and people want to add like the DualShock enhanced games, they're gonna be playing them unless they find a way to hack the controllers so you can add new controllers. You're gonna be fucked. Basically, it's what they're saying. Which, I mean, I feel sorry, but I mean, it's Sony. They're unoriginal and lame. That's what they do.
And it says here there's only like 20 classic PS1 titles, and we only know 5 so far. So let's play a game and guess the rest of the 15 titles.
Medieval, maybe one of the Crash Bandicoots games or Crash Team Racing. Maybe Wipeout. Maybe
Parappa the Rapper.
yeah, that'd be cool. Parappa the Rapper.
And maybe one of the Spyro games.
One of the Spyro games, probably 2 or 3, because the first one's not very good.
And there's Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Metal Gear Solid and the original Resident Evil.
Metal Gear Solid will probably be there. What else?
The original Resident Evil.
Maybe. That's a if. It'll be a maybe. One of the Resident Evils will be there. One of the Capcom games built in the RE engine will be there. So it'll be either be Resident Evil or Dino Crisis. Personally, I'm kind of burnt out on Dino Crisis, so I would say on Resident Evil, go with Dino Crisis. Or
either Mega Man X4 or Mega Man 8.
Or Tenchu. Mega Man 8, I would say go with X, because X is more popular on the PlayStation. Yeah, X4 probably. Let's see, what else? Another RPG, maybe a Suikoden. Maybe 1 or 2.
What about LSD Simulator?
You mean Rez? No, Rez was PS2. I don't know. PlayStation was really known for RPGs, so I'm thinking RPGs. Maybe Jade Cocoon or Azure Tower.
Eve.
What?
Parasite Eve.
No, because if they have one of the Resident Evils and Dino Crisis and Mega Man, that's too much Capcom. And Parasite Eve is Square Enix. Sorry, Square Enix. Well, I mean, they might have 2 or 3 Final Fantasies, or a Secret of Mana, like Legend of Mana, Sword of Mana. Yeah, Legend of Mana, which is like the Secret of Mana game on the PlayStation. Maybe Chrono Cross.
I was planning on mentioning that though, but I had second thoughts.
No, they can put it on there because I mean, like, I personally hate that game, but if they like it, good. God bless them.
What about Final Fantasy Tactics?
Yeah, they'll probably have that. They'll probably have like Final Fantasy VII. Well, they already have Final Fantasy VII, maybe Final Fantasy VIII, Tactics, and maybe Chrono Cross. So that's 4 Square Enix games. They'll probably have Symphony of the Night.
Metal Gear Solid.
No, Metal Gear Solid. Maybe a Suikoden. One of them.
And maybe, let's see, what's the other Konami title that came out on the PS1?
Shit. Gradius? Maybe a Gradius, yeah. Maybe they'll get one of the Gradiuses. Maybe Gradius 4.
Right. And for Capcom, there's Mega Man X4, Resident Evil, or Dino Crisis. And maybe did a Street Fighter game came out on the PS1?
I want to say Alpha or 3.
Or what about the Street Fighter EX game?
Could be that. I mean, it's probably going to be one of the more popular ones. And EX just kind of wasn't, or it might be the Street Fighter 2 Anniversary Edition, because Capcom loves re-releasing that shit.
Now for Namco Bandai, there's Pac-Man World and Miss Pac-Man World.
No, I think it'll be Tenchu or maybe Soul Calibur. Sorry, Edge. No,
but isn't Soul Calibur one of Dreamcast exclusive?
No, well, you're right. Tekken
3.
That's already Tekken. Let's see. Let me think of the other Namco Bandai games. I think didn't they do the Digimon games? They might do a
there's
Digimon game.
Oh yeah, they do. Namco does Digimon game, but I also remember Klonoa.
Yeah, Klonoa. Yeah, Klonoa used to be their mascot. They might do Klonoa. That's actually a pretty good platformer. That's one of the few 2.5D platformers that's actually good. Like everyone's always like, "Oh man, Kirby for the 64 is good."
And maybe did any of the Tales games came out on the PS1?
Tales of I know there was a Tales game, but I can't remember what it was. It was like Tales of Hearts. No, not Tales of Hearts. Tales of something. I know that here. Let me look it up on Wikipedia. Wikipedia, or let me Google it. Tales games.
I completely forgot about Silent Hill.
Yeah, but that'll be too many Konami games.
Horror games.
That's too many Konami games.
But Silent Hill started on the PS1, so it will make sense to include it on the PS1 Classic.
Yeah, but if they have if they have Castlevania Symphony of the Night and a Suikoden game, no, they could add another one. You're right. No, and Metal Gear, that's 3 games. And there's only 20 games on there. It's like too many. Tales of Destiny. That was the game that was on the
PS1?
No, wait. Yeah, Tales of Destiny.
All right, so.
And Tales of Eternia.
Okay, now that I think that's all the Japanese third-party games that we've tackled on for the PS1.
And there's only 20 games on there, so I think that's pretty much, that's pretty much all of them at that point. So I guess now we have to go with the bad news for Sony. I mean, it's not really bad news for anyone. I did a video talking about no shit. It's no shit news. The Vita is finally dead. It's dead. It's dead. No more. No more Vita. It's gone. Bye.
No more niche anime visual novels plaguing its library.
No more hentai games because they're all getting ported to the Switch. Yeah, they're basically just using the Switch as the Vita. The Switch in Japan is the new Vita. Yeah, it's all. I almost feel bad for the Switch being the new Vita in Japan. It's embarrassing. It's like
the Switch is a console, not a handheld.
Exactly. The Switch is a portable
I keep
console.
telling people this.
It is not a handheld.
And yet it's getting treated as such, to the point that it's starting to make me go red in the face.
Yeah, I'm not exactly red in the face, but I am like people like, yeah, it's just like the Vita. I'm like, it's not like the Vita. It's two completely different business models. The Vita,
In fact, I heard somebody saying that there's going to be a second version of the Switch, and I'm just saying, wait.
Well,
that was from a rumor. That's from a rumor who leaked that there's going to be a Minecraft character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
I mean, I'm going to keep it real. There might be a second version of the Switch, but it's going to be a second version of the Switch like there was a Wii Mini, where there's going to be shit taken out of it in order to make it cheaper to produce.
Yes, that's why I was grinding my gears about that.
I mean, what you're probably going to get is a Switch that probably, like, the Joy-Cons are built into it, and it's not going to have HD rumble. Something like that. And the screen's probably going to be much smaller. And you're probably not going to have a dock to recharge it. A dock to recharge it and to hook it up to your TV. is probably going to be like you're probably going to just have an HDMI cable that you're going to stick into it and plug into your TV, and that's how you're going to use it. But I mean, I strongly do believe that Nintendo is going to come out with another handheld, just because.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling some people. There's going to be another handheld, and no, the phone apps didn't kill it.
I don't think the Switch is. I don't think the Switch is Nintendo's next handheld. I think the Switch is their next console. I think they will make another handheld, and I think they're like. Here's the thing: with the Vita dying in Japan,
people are going to say the handheld systems are going to be dead.
No, what I think Nintendo's going to do is I think they're going to let the 3DS go for another year, probably till 2020, and then what they'll do is they'll announce their next handheld probably at the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, and they'll probably show it off in the fall or something like that. And hopefully it'll have a price point that's good, like $150, maybe $150 to $179. Backwards compatible with 3DS, maybe the DS as well, since same cartridges basically. And maybe it'll you can use it as like a secondary controller for your Switch.
Yeah.
But as far as the Vita goes, yeah, it's been on life support for a while. It's about time to put it
life support. I consider it dead because its owners disowned it.
Well, I mean, if we went by that, Sony basically killed the Vita off in 2015 when they didn't release any games, where they haven't released any first-party games out for it for like 2-3 years.
That's what I was saying, in a sense.
I mean, as long as the system still has games coming out for it, technically, new games, technically it's not dead. So technically, the NES isn't dead because there's still new games being made for it on a technical level.
That's where I have to draw a line, because if the people that created it are not supporting it, then I would consider it officially dead.
Well, then the NES died in 2005 when Nintendo stopped honoring the warranties with those. I guess the Wii U still isn't dead because you can still go and get the thing repaired if it's busted. So
yeah,
the Vita. The Vita was kind of a shitty idea that Sony just came up with because they
wanted to fight Nintendo's 3DS.
Basically, the Vita was made as a reactionary device. It was made to basically, they were like, look, the PSP sold a lot. They didn't say, okay, why did it sell a lot? Oh, because it was really hackable. Like, that's the reason the PSP, like, almost everyone I know who had a PSP, the reason they bought a PSP was so that they could hack the shit out of it to play other shit. Like, I don't know anyone who got a PSP just for PSP games. Except for people in Japan who really like those little shitty RPGs that they had on the PSP. Those little shitty first-person in a labyrinth with monster girls that are like, oh, this is like a 14, 16-year-old girl, but it looks like a 7 or 8-year-old girl.
As I said, that's enough, ladies and gentlemen. Get your heads out of the gutter.
Those types of games, which apparently do really well in Japan. I have no idea why. Because the Vita, look, those games kept the Vita alive for the last 3 or 4 years. So, because it's not like Sony was doing anything to help that system, survive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anything you want to add before we move on to the next topic, or wrap things up? Or?
I was about to ask what I missed.
Oh, you missed out. You missed out our speculation of what the rest of the 15 games will be included in the PS1 Classic.
Yeah, you can do it right now if you want to.
Well, if anything, the PS Classics, hopefully, I'm hoping for at least 3 games. Legendary Dragoon, one of the Spyro series at least, and maybe, and this is a stretch here, maybe and I'm going to be called out on this for how I think of it. Grandia, one of the Grandia games.
I would be with you, except for the fact that those games you can get for far cheaper on PC or other consoles. Like they're coming to other shit too. So, but yeah, the Grandia games are good. I think. I mean, you know,
I know that it might be cheaper on the PC. I'm just saying that those are 3 hopes I'm going for.
I mean, they're good. I mean, Grandia 1 and 2 are good. I mean, I'm not like they're not the best RPGs I ever played, but they're pretty good. You said Legend of Dragoon. That's a pretty good game.
Yeah. And one of the Spyro games.
Yeah, we said that earlier. We said it's going to be one of the Spyro games, probably 2 or 3, not 1, because 1 is not that good.
It's
outdated.
It's a rough draft.
It's a rough game to play, and the reason I say not one is because it's a rough game. That first game is rough to play. It's rough. It is not easy to get into. It's very primitive.
Even with the DualShock analogs,
it's just not a very like. Here's what people don't understand about the PlayStation. A lot of the first iteration games and like new series on the PlayStation,
they only use the D-pad.
No, they suck. They're not very well made. Like the games got better over time as the developers got used to the hardware. It's the reason why while Final Fantasy VII looks like shit, Final Fantasy VIII looks much better.
Yeah, but though somehow Final Fantasy VII was the most recognized and awarded.
Final Fantasy VII had a $150 million ad campaign, which if you adjust for inflation is like a $250 million ad campaign. Like that's like Coca-Cola levels of advertising. If you could advertise a turd in a box for $250 million, and I guarantee people would buy it if you spent $250 million to advertise it. So, Final Fantasy VIII did not have that level of advertisement.
And it's funny that everybody remembers 7, but forgets about 8 because we know what happened when the Final Fantasy games got announced for the Switch came up.
Plus, I mean, to be fair, 8's not very good anyway. Really
people complained that Final Fantasy 8 was missing because of some legal reasons of sorts.
I mean, it's not so much that. I just think that Final Fantasy VIII's just not like 7 had this huge advertisement and the story is very has a lot of iconic moments. Final Fantasy VIII doesn't have those level of iconic moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. Because the only thing I remember of Final Fantasy VIII, in a sense, is Triple Triad, a mini game.
and Drew, you also missed out our discussion about Telltale Games and Capcom Vancouver shutting down.
I'm only gonna miss one of them in a sense.
Telltale Games?
Bullshit!
What, you didn't like Telltale Games?
I consider them the bland storytellers.
Really?
I mean, they just tack on gameplay like it's a garnish.
I mean, I didn't I'll be fair. I'll be honest. I didn't love their games, but I liked that they helped bring back adventure gaming to the mainstream. Because that was a genre that until they started doing their Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us, like their games and stuff, that you didn't see that genre that much anymore. So I'm glad that they managed to help bring it back. But
yeah, I was saying that sure they brought the storytelling adventure games back, like the Monkey Island style games.
Yeah,
but how they treated gameplay in a sense, it felt like it was just a garnish.
Yeah, it was an afterthought in a lot of the games. You're right.
So there's the QuickTime events.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a big issue in gaming before they came in. Like a lot of games have had that. A lot of genres have had problems with quick time events.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, if it was used to signify the end of a battle, I could go for that. If it's used for a moment of surprise action, for trying to do something pretty dumb, I could go with that.
Hey, it makes me wish they could have implemented QuickTime events to justify the long cutscenes in Metal Gear Solid. So I wouldn't be watching a movie.
Well, I mean, their games aren't that far. I mean, if you want to watch a movie, you got to play The Order 1886.
Oh!
You're literally playing a movie in that. You know, a movie with floppy digital penises and hookers. But you know, if you want to talk about, you know, shit that's not really, you know, quality, but
Yeah, the others shut down. I might miss because seriously, I actually thought Dead Rising might have some potential. At least to me.
well, I mean, like, I feel sorry that they, like, here's the thing, like I said, some of their games are good. Like The Wolf Among Us was pretty good, and I would have loved to see a sequel to that. So I'm sad to see them go.
Yeah.
The Walking Dead, I don't really give a shit about because it boils down to the same shit, just like the show, just like the comics, just like the games. It's the same shit over.
Okay. Okay, I was talking about the wrong company, so that's my goof.
No, but Capcom Vancouver, fuck them, because I don't like Dead Rising. The first game was fun. The second game was not quite as fun. It's still up there. But 3 and 4, where they changed the art style and they made it like realistic art style, it just was not. It's like it's kind of like, I mean, it's like, how many times does Capcom have to keep on making the same mistake before they figure out to stop doing it? Like how they did with Lost Planet, where the first Lost Planet was made by Keiji Inafune and his team. And then the second Lost Planet was made by the remnants of that team. And then the third one was made by, they outsourced it, and it just did not feel like a Lost Planet game.
I have to wonder how many lives does Capcom have left? Because sooner or later, Capcom's going to be in that crosshairs.
I mean, based on the news that there will be paid DLC in Devil May Cry 5, I say not much longer.
What will have paid DLC?
Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah, it's gonna be there because Capcom wants to make money, and paid DLC is now the thing. Like, here's the thing: I have nothing against paid DLC if it's fairly marketed and.
Well, the thing is, they announced that Devil May Cry 5 will let you spend real money to upgrade your characters.
Oh, fuck that.
Oh.
I mean, I wasn't gonna get the game anyway, but
no.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, that could suck a MILF. That could suck a middle finger.
Yep. They can take a thumb and sit on it. Yeah.
Ooh, I found some interesting news. Diablo's getting a Netflix series.
What?
Yeah, I heard about that. I was like, okay.
Huh. I thought that would be in the Sci-Fi Power Hour for that one.
Nah, Diablo
really. Because, I mean, like, here's the thing. They should have done a Diablo animated series years ago. Like, why now? Like, Diablo's kind of lost its thunder. Why make a fucking animated series now? It doesn't make sense.
I mean, the Castlevania series lost its thunder way before the Netflix series came out.
And the Netflix series is not very good either. So, it's, first of all, I mean, that little 3 episodes they called it was just some bullshit. It was an OVA cut up into 3 chunks. Second of all, how the fuck are you going to do a Castlevania animated show and not have Castlevania music in it?
I was going to say, I thought there was.
I mean, they didn't play
Castlevania in the third one.
I mean, they didn't play Castlevania 3 music.
No, they didn't play any Castlevania music. No Bloody Tears, no Dance of the Holy Man, no Vampire Killer, no
No Wicked Child.
nothing. Not a goddamn. There is nary a Castlevania tune in a fucking. And Castlevania is one of those game series that has very, very recognizable
iconic music
and iconic music. Not a single, I mean, which tells me that Capcom spent the barest minimum to get this shit made. Like, it was done on an ultra thin budget.
Dang.
And if you look at the animation of it, you can tell.
Yeah, the animation is pretty choppy.
It's cheap as fuck.
I was going to suggest it to my nephews to at least try to see it, and yet now I'm glad I didn't suggest it.
No. You want to watch a Castlevania animation? Well, I mean, there isn't really a Castlevania animation, really, not really. Just listen. Just go to my channel, click on my collections, go to Let's Play Super Castlevania 4. You'll have fun. That's all you need.
That I can't get. And if anything else I missed because I know I came in a little bit late.
No, that's it. Let's see. Now that we've done that, anything anyone wants to bring before we wrap things up?
Oh yes, there's this guy named Chris Taylor who is suffering from terminal cancer. And his one final wish was to play Super Smash Bros. Ultimate before his passing. And Nintendo gave him his wish. So he and his friends are playing the E3 demo of the game.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I was like, man,
that's some heartwarmer stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo doesn't always do cool shit, but when they do, they really pull out all the stops.
And
A lot more than that.
And lastly, the Mario Kart Arcade GP VR will be debuting in Washington, D.C. next month.
So we're going to finally be able to have an arcade version of Mario Kart GP.
Yep. And it's in VR.
Oh boy. I can already hear the trouble with that.
And it's going to be available at Washington, D.C., so Mr. Red Fox will be able to get his hands on it before us.
No, I won't. I'm not going anywhere. So that's the end of this cast. We kept it short because, this is being pre-recorded, and it's late at night, and I've had a very long day. So with that being said, that's the end of the podcast. Thank you for joining, and peace.
And hype responsibly.
129th Nintendo.